create raving fans. You don't need 10 million people that love you if you're a local business, but you need 1,000 raving fans.
When your name's on the door, you care a little more. You're not going to talk to the president and CEO of the big box store when you go in. In our member stores, likely you can and will. You just got to raise the bar.
Always go the second mile because you create raving fans. And when you do stuff like that, it's hard to go back to someone else. The future of independent business has been tested a lot.
The landscape continues to change, and we're going to see more change, but that's part of it.
Yeah.
I still think there's a great future for independents out there. It absolutely is.
That's why I named my company Grit Blueprint, is because what it takes to be successful in this industry, it always starts with grit.
I think you're making some really good connections with folks, and I like the energy about it,
I
appreciate the grit.
Welcome to the Grit Blueprint podcast, the playbook for building unmistakable brands that grow, lead, and last in the built world. I'm Stephanie Couch, the founder of Grit Blueprint, and I'm a lifelong building industry insider. I was raised here, built my career here, and now my team and I help others win here. The truth is, you can be the best option in your space and still lose to someone else who simply shows up better and more consistently. Each week on the Grit Blueprint, I'm going to show you how to stand out, earn trust, and turn your brand into a competitive advantage that lasts. If you're ready to be seen, known, chosen, and become unmistakable, you're in the right place. Let's get started.
Welcome to the Grit Blueprint podcast. I am your host, Stephanie Couch, and I'm here today with a very special guest on the market floor. Bob, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Stephanie. Happy to be here.
And we actually had the pleasure of meeting last night at dinner, so we're fast friends.
Yeah.
But you have been around Do It Best for a while, and you are the president emeritus. You were the CEO formerly, and you are also the chairman of your family's 21-store chain in Virginia.
Yeah.
So I want you to tell me a little bit about you and your family and how'd you get here? Because it's been a cool journey. You told me last night, and I was like, wow.
We're sitting here today with kind of really the first big combination market between Do It Best and True Value. And I look back on my history, and it's kind of surreal to look around and see, is this really all come together this way? And, because I grew up in the family business, worked elsewhere, but then kind of came back to the business where I had other jobs during college and all. But, when you have a chance to work with your parents in growing a family business, and ours will be 2 more years will be 100.
And your dad is 102?
102. Now, he wasn't there for all those 100 years, but, pretty close. But he grew up in the small town of Virginia Beach back then, which has now grown to be the largest city in the state. And we grew up in the hardware business. And then my dad, when he came into the business, you're always looking to kind of raise the bar on what you're doing. And he said, this co-op model looks really interesting. It looks like an opportunity to really help independents. And really the leading one at the time, he saw was True Value out there. And so he joined True Value back in 1965. And they were such a big part of our growth as a family company from in the 60s and the 70s and into the early 80s, and just made a heck of a difference for our company. And we found ourselves, however, late 80s starting to look and said, are there some different options out there? The performance, to be honest, at True Value had slipped a bit, and we were looking for somebody who really might partner with us a little bit better on our business. And so we found HWI then, Do It Best today, and said, boy, this just really looks like something different, looks like a good fit for us. And so we made the change, which co-ops went from True Value to Do It Best in 1990. And it kind of re-energized our business, helped us continue to grow and expand and add locations. And I had the chance to serve on the Do It Best board as a member for about 6 years, including a couple years as their chairman. And during my time as chairman, the CEO at the time was a gentleman by the name of Mike McClellan. He'd been with the company about almost 25 years, including about 9 or 10 as CEO, and done a great job in helping the company grow. But he was looking to kind of retire. And so we, as a board, started the search process. And we were looking nationally. We had the board of directors involved in that. And unbeknownst to me, Mike talked to a number of the board members and said, I'd really like you to consider Bob for the position. And, it was an interesting time. And I was fortunate in the family business to have 2 younger brothers, both very capable, very engaged in the business, who could step up and do some things in my absence. And so, long story short, I ended up taking, 25 years on the retail side and move it over to the co-op and distribution side. And then spent, 16 years at Do It Best, 15 as CEO.
Moved to Fort Wayne.
Moved to Fort Wayne, which was, my son Roby was about 11 or 12 at the time. And he had just gotten a new surfboard for Christmas. And we tell him we're moving him to Indiana. He goes, Dad, we're moving up with a bunch of farmers? He said, yeah.
Can't surf in a cornfield.
But they made such great friends in Fort Wayne that they still connect with today. And and then so when I retired, it's hard to believe it's 10 years ago. Time just flies. But it'll be 10 years in January, and moved back home. And now I serve as chair of our family company. And my brothers are still doing a great job running the business, and we've got 5 members of the 4th generation involved in the business too.
Well, so and I just spoke with your amazing daughter, Meg. Yeah. She's incredible, and she's in the business, and you have 4th generation. Is that correct?
Yeah.
And she's got 2 daughters, so I said we got to get those girls in there for the 5th generation. So
both hers, who are still very young, 2 and 3.5. They both have their first market badges already. So they've been up to the market and been here. And so,
that's awesome. I loved hardware shows when I was a little girl. It was literally the thing I looked forward to my entire year. Yeah. We had 2 or 3 we'd go to. It was our only vacations. My dad couldn't get off work, but obviously this was a work thing. Yeah. And I've seen so many amazing families walk by today. There's so much going on the floor. With the True Value acquisition, the United Hardware acquisition, there's been a lot of action happen in the last year or so here at Do It Best Group. What excites you the most about the future and the changes that you see happening right now?
It was a really unique opportunity for Do It Best. And I think there are a lot of things that came into play with them being able to execute on that. Having a strong financial foundation that you can springboard from, so you don't have that as a hindrance, but also you're dependent so much on the team to execute that. And I think we've really enjoyed for a number of years having a strong and a deep talent level at Do It Best, and that deep talent level helped them really spread that force out, manage through a very difficult combination, and executed on it in a way that, you just think, gosh, we're barely, 7-8 months into this thing. And already the performance at True Value has gone back to what people are really happy with now.
Yeah.
And we've restored confidence in their retailers. We've restored confidence in the vendor community, and really supported that independent network of businesses across the country that depend on that kind of support and relationship. So now to come into, this is really, we had the groups together for the spring market, but to come in here now in Indy at the October market and see it taking up every square inch of floor space here.
We're out of room.
And, obviously there are vendors who took a haircut. Yeah. And maybe not feeling so good about that. I understand that. But I hope they're encouraged and by seeing the activity here at the market and the response of the members and seeing good things about the opportunities ahead. So I think that's exciting. And the member comment and the vendor comment that I've had has been outstanding.
Absolutely. Me too. I've talked to a lot of True Value members. They're excited about what's to come, excited about the leverage that they've got. Yeah. And then they want to see what's next for them, because before they didn't have options, but now they do. One question I want to ask you is, what did your dad say about this True Value acquisition? And I feel like this is such a cool story, because I didn't realize that your store was True Value and your dad in the 60s had chosen that. Yeah. And then you ended up moving to Do It Best. You were obviously the CEO for a long time. Such a really circle moment to come back. Yeah. What did Dad say about that?
It was more about the memories than anything else. And looking back, everybody jokes, if you've been with True Value for a long time, you'd go back to when their markets used to be right at their offices on Clybourne Avenue in Chicago. And we'd have these metal rolling carts that we'd push around the market, and there were peanut shells on the floor everywhere. I don't know how people with peanut allergies work the market.
I don't know.
It's
That would never be okay.
but no,
today.
you wouldn't do that today. You just say no, that's not happening. But and peanut shells on the floor, apple juice. It was just all these things that were just and so when I was later at Do It Best, and we would have prospects come over and come to a market here to kind of kick the tires at Do It Best from True Value. And I would hear them say, Do It Best kind of feels like True Value did when they were on Clybourne Avenue. And I said, well, I know exactly what you mean, because it did have a culture about it that was special. And I think, I hope that we've continued to build one here at Do It Best Corp that does set us apart. And so I think, I go back to when we were talking about my dad, considering the switch to Do It Best, and we had just been loyal True Value members. We weren't really looking that hard, and we had talked about it and hemmed and hawed a bit, and we got a one-page sheet in the mail in August after Do It Best wrapped up its fiscal year. And my office and my dad's office were in two separate locations, and I got that and opened it up, and I said, gosh, looking at the low cost of operations, the high year-end rebate, the return on investment, the high fill rates. This is just, I got to talk to Dad about this again. And I swear to you, 15 minutes later, my phone rings. It's my dad. He says, Bob, I got this thing in the mail today from Do It Best, from HWI Do It Best. He said, well, I think we need to take a closer look. I said, yep, we're on the same page.
Wow.
So when he sees this, I think it's the memories of what we went through together, and working with your parent, is a pretty special opportunity.
It is.
And so you reminisce on some of those things that you went through.
Absolutely. My dad and I talk a lot about him working with my granddad, and my granddad lived to be 101, and we'd all sit around and laugh about things. And my granddad liked to laugh about things that he did to my dad, like with a lumber truck, making him do horrible things that were just, and he'd just laugh when he was 100 about it. Like, that was a great memory. And my dad's like, it still burns as much as it did 40 years ago when you sent me out on that load. But I had to
unload those 100-pound bags or whatever it was all by myself with no forklift.
Send him out with a lot of roofing trucks without any help before Moffett trucks were even a thing.
Nope.
What's it to throw 100 squares of roofing by hand in the July heat in Georgia?
You can handle that.
It did make him tough, though.
Yeah.
And my dad made me tough. And I think that's one of the things about our industry is we have a lot of grit. That's why I named my company Grit Blueprint, is because what it takes to be successful in this industry, it always usually starts with grit.
Yeah.
And I think that's an endearing thing about our industry. This episode of the Grit Blueprint podcast was sponsored by Do It Best Group. Do It Best Group is the largest co-op in the world, and they help independent hardware and lumber yards all over North America win. Do It Best offers services, products, and people that can help you win long term. They are the champion of independence. The future of independent business has been tested a lot. There's a lot of big giants out there that are competing for the pro contractor business. They're competing for the consumer business. And I believe partnerships are the way to win in life. Co-ops are a great opportunity for that partnership. What do you think the future of independent business looks like? And what do you see that people are doing that are innovating to win at a major level? What are you doing at your stores to win?
I still think there's a great future for independents out there. It absolutely is. It's the landscape continues to change, and we're going to see more change. But that's part of it.
Yeah.
And if you don't like change, maybe that's in the place for you. But if you're willing to embrace that and look for the opportunities that it brings rather than complain about the challenges of changing, there's tons of stuff that's happening, and it's happening every single day. And the partnership piece of it, yes, it is getting, like today, if we look at independents out there, there are fewer single site operations. There are going to be more multi-site operations. And to bring those economies of scale to the local level that we're trying to bring from the national level down there too. So you're going to continue to see that. But, we've had the boxes around since the early 80s.
Yeah.
And there are tons of opportunities to work around those.
I agree.
And if you're still running in fear of them, you got to figure out the way, because there are ways around there. And then you talk about the leveraging opportunities. One of the best things that I did on the retail side, and my brother still continues to do it today, and we're just talking about the other, but getting together with other like-minded retailers and we would, back in the day, it didn't have to be all of the same co-op, but we had groups from all across the country that were, in different, wholesale or distribution relationships, but we'd get together once or twice a year, and I stole more good ideas from that group.
Yeah.
And we helped each other, through that big box revolution thing, and learned so much from one another. It was the best time I spent every single year doing that. But you got to plan it. You got to get the right group together, and then you got to have some expectations, because if you don't have expectations of the group, it kind of falls apart. So if you miss more than, you can miss once, you miss twice in a row,
you're out.
You're gone.
You got to be
If you're not
committed.
going to share financials, you're not in the group.
Yeah.
You got to be able to use the tools that we have to benchmark against one another to really grow and expand.
That's a great point. I do love how open people are to sharing, because they know, hey, you're not my enemy. We're not even, most of the time, we're not even competitors, because you're not even in the same market. But I've even seen competitors share information because they believe there's enough market share and they want to kind of bind together to go up against the bigger dogs. And I think it's one of the greatest things in our industry is how much people help each other. It really is that spirit of community with independent businesses. And I see that a lot when I'm here. I'm always invigorated by these events. I think it's seeing the young, hungry people coming into our industry as well. Like your daughter, we have a family history, so we do have a tie here, but we both went out and did something different.
Yeah.
And now we've come back and I'm doing my own thing. She's working in the family business. It's really fun to use that leverage we had from what we came from to build what we want it to be in the future.
Yeah. Yeah. And she's, she's not on Capitol Hill anymore, carrying 2 cell phones and on call 24/7. But when you're in a family business, you're going to be wearing a lot of hats.
Yeah.
And it's not, may not be 24/7, but it's pretty close to it.
Yep.
And, I think the folks that do it best, have an appreciation of that, their time is very valuable. And so when you're connecting with those members, keep that in mind, because the same guy who is the CEO, he's also the truck driver sometimes and the janitor other times. And he's got a lot of stuff to do.
There's a lot of days my dad ended his day in a lumber truck.
Yeah.
If that driver calls in, that load's going to go.
Yeah.
I also think, though, that spirit is what makes them so successful, because that person, that builder or that homeowner that came in that needed that help, they realize that person will go the extra mile. Chick-fil-A is a company I'm from the Georgia area. So go the second mile.
Yeah.
Always go the second mile and give a customer experience that people will want to replicate again and again in their lives, because you create raving fans. And when you do stuff like that, it's hard to go back to someone else.
Chick-fil-A is a great example of folks who really work to connect with their customer. And I love one of their onboarding videos that they have about, if you've seen it, it's called Every Person Has a Story. And you're putting yourself in the customer's place.
Yeah.
And, I can't have a bad day because I don't know how bad their day is.
That's so true.
And so they've got an issue, may not have hit you at a good time, but we got to take care of them.
Yeah.
We got to make the steps necessary to make that happen.
Talking about branding and culture being strong, I've been going to Chick-fil-A my whole life, and I can't imagine what would happen if I pulled into the drive-thru, Bob, and someone said, "You're welcome."
You might freak out. Yeah, that's
I would be like,
right.
"What'd you just say to me?"
Yeah.
Because it's my pleasure is all there. And so it's just the little things that end up being the big things. And I think that is what resonates deeply with me, is that we got to keep hitting all the base hits, and we got to keep remembering that we got to change and have new things happening. But these little things are really what adds up to winning.
Yeah, and we were talking about it last night, and talking about the technology element and all of that, and I made the comment about it yet helps smaller retailers play big, but it also helps big ones play small, and so you have to understand that, and a lot of times you hear folks talk about service. Well, if you don't really understand what that means, because there's a higher expectation on independence.
I agree.
If you go into big box and you're able to park within half a mile of the front door and you don't get hit by somebody going in and the forklift doesn't run over you in the aisle and you found what you needed in 35, 40 minutes.
It's a good day.
It's a good day.
I live to tell
If
another
you come
tale.
in my store and heaven forbid you got to wait behind more than 2 or 3 people at the checkout, and you didn't park right up front and somebody didn't greet you at the door and take you to where you wanted, you just got to raise the bar.
I agree. There's a book I love. It's called Unreasonable Hospitality. Such a good book.
I'm listening to it right now.
Oh, we did not plan this.
No, I'm listening to it right now.
It is probably one of the best books I've ever read.
It's awesome.
I don't want to spoil it, but
No.
one thing that I will tell you that Will, the author of that book, he had a great restaurant. It became the #1 restaurant in the world.
No.
And that's on the back cover, so I didn't spoil the story
No.
for you. But one of the
I'm a little
things,
ways in. You're okay.
Okay.
You're okay.
One of the things that he says that I really love is you can go to another restaurant and you can have the best meal in the world. Don't pay attention to what they're doing right. Don't pay attention to how amazing the steak is or how beautifully the appetizers are displayed or maybe the china that they're serving on. Pay attention to the little things that they don't do well. Pay attention to where people are actually falling short that you could shine. And I believe that independents who niche and choose to have that amazing service plus a niche that they choose to really do well in, he chose coffee service and craft beer because he went to a few of the other restaurants with his team in the area and everything was exquisite. And so they sat down and they said, oh, these things were amazing. And then he flipped the script and said, what wasn't amazing? It wasn't terrible.
Yeah.
It just wasn't amazing.
Yeah.
And how do we surprise and delight our customers? And if you could go out and do something for one person, one kid, one wife or spouse on an anniversary or whatever it is, surprise and delight people. I think we lose that whimsy. We need to bring some of that back.
How do you touch people? And when we were in Fort Wayne, we had a cat that showed up at our doorstep in Virginia Beach when Meg was 1, I think, and maybe she was talking. But all she could say was bright eyes. So that became the name of the cat. So the cat followed us to Fort Wayne. Well, the cat comes to the end of cat life, and so we have to take her to the vet and have her put down. And Meg's with us, and she's in tears and everything. But the guy was so good. The vet, best bedside manner and everything. So we get through the trauma, bury the cat, all that. About 3 or 4 weeks later, we get a card from Purdue University, and he has made a donation in the name of Bright Eyes to the animal health department at Purdue.
Wow.
Do you think I'm going to another vet? No.
Never.
And so how do you find ways to really connect with people at a personal level?
I agree. And you don't have to do it. Everything is not scalable. That's something that I think is really important in business that you get wrapped up in it. Oh, I got to get bigger and I got to do this. Sometimes the things that mean the most to people, you could only do for 10 people or you could only do for one person, but that might make such a difference and create raving fans. You don't need 10 million people that love you if you're a local business, but you need 1,000 raving fans. You need those people to then teach their kids to come to. I heard about your Santa event that you do at your store. I did ask if you were Santa. I was told no.
No.
But I think it's amazing
Not yet. Not yet.
That Meg had that experience as a child, and now her girls are going to have it. And you have customers, I'm sure, for generations that can say they've been coming to these events at your store. Those are things that they aren't really scalable. You can't do that worldwide. So,
and you think about those family kind of event things, and I think we have some folks who do some amazing stuff on those. What was kind of neat this year on just the fresh cut Christmas trees that we sell. They do a best of for Tidewater and so you've got Virginia Beach and Norfolk and Chesapeake and in all those cities. they had a category that was best place to buy a Christmas tree.
Oh,
We got best place to buy a Christmas tree.
that's cool.
So, there are a lot of stories behind each one of those Christmas tree purchases when they show up at the lot with the kids in tow. And,
Absolutely.
So, if we're getting that already, what can we do to make it even better?
Hot cocoa with marshmallows.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I have ideas, Bob.
Yeah.
I have ideas. But I think that is the thing is a lot of times it is something that costs almost nothing.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, a cup of hot cocoa with some marshmallows might be 75 cents or something. I don't know. I'm not a mathematician. I just do things that I think people like, and then I let my husband figure out the P&L. But at the end of the day, there's a lot you can do for a very little amount. And sometimes it's just something you say or a phone call. So I think that's what I want the Heart of Independence to continue to grow. And I think that's how they do it.
We had a member a while back who, right on the front of the store, when your name's on the door, you care a little more.
So true.
And it's, you're not going to talk to the president and CEO of the big box store when you go in.
No.
In our member stores, likely you can.
That's right.
And will.
They may be the one checking you out or loading your mulch in your truck.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love that. Well, I'm really excited that we got to sit down. I'm so glad we met last night at dinner. And you've got an amazing family business. You've had a great history here, and I know a lot more to come. We got to get you in that Santa suit.
Yeah, there you go.
I mean, I feel like that's something you probably need to check off
or
your
pink hat,
you know what? Actually, Bob, now that you mention it, I think I might have a pink hat. Ben, can you make this happen? I want to make this man's dream come true here.
I had a couple people dare me to do that. So,
dare you to do it.
So,
well, I am here to make things happen. Okay. I'm here to give unreasonable hospitality, Bob.
That's right. Perfect.
That is what I'm here to do. So we're gonna make this happen.
Here we go.
I think this is your color, and you're wearing blue.
This might be a photo op here. I'm telling you.
I love it. Well, he has a camera, and we are filming. I love this. All right, let's do a photo. You look great. It's like it was meant to be. I think so. I think you should wear that to 80s night.
Good guys wear pink hats.
I think so. I love it.
Good.
Well, thank you for joining me on the Grit Blueprint.
This was fun.
This was fun.
Enjoyed catching up. And, you've only been with Do It Best now a short time, but I think you're making some really good connections with folks.
Thank you.
And I like the energy about it. I appreciate the grit.
Well, thank you so much. And thank you for joining me on the Grit Blueprint podcast.
Yeah.
And let's go celebrate the 80th anniversary of Do It Best tonight.
Party time.
Party time. Let's go. We'll see you on the next episode.
Thank you for listening to the Grit Blueprint podcast. If this episode helped you think a little differently about how to show up, share it with someone in your building world who needs it. If you're ready to turn visibility into growth, then head to gritblueprint.com to learn more and book a call to talk to us about your growth strategy. Until next time, stay unmistakable.